Most people navigate their lives in a state of waking sleep, an existence defined by reaction rather than action. They operate on an unconscious autopilot, bound by unseen chains that keep their focus narrow and their potential restricted. Gnostic traditions described this state as hymarmene, the heavy gravity of cosmic fate. It is the invisible influence of daily routine, biological impulse, and the opinions of others that dictates every move for those who fail to wake up. This lack of awareness manifests as a constant, desperate hunger for external approval. It is visible in the man who lets anger leak out in front of people who don't matter, while remaining silent in front of those who do. As long as you remain a creature of impulse, you are predictable. And in a world that rewards the relentless, the predictable are the first to be exploited by the systems designed to keep them small. Ancient esoteric maps identified the specific forces that maintain this prison. They called them the archons, the hostile governors stationed at the gates between the material world and the divine light. Surviving texts like the Apocryphon of John detail a spiritual gauntlet where the soul is intercepted by these gatekeepers. To pass, the initiate had to possess gnosis, experiential knowledge, and deliver specific verbal protocols to bypass each level of authority. In the Egyptian Duat, these gatekeepers appeared as animal-headed guardians, wielding the true names of the doors and their keepers. The traveler proved they had awareness to enter the next realm. Today, these animal-headed guardians take the form of modern psychological triggers. They are the predatory instincts of fear and desire that the world uses to steer you like cattle. Whether viewed as literal demons or emotional reflexes, these gatekeepers feed on reactivity. If you lack self-command, the world will treat you exactly as ruthlessly as your habits allow it to. This cosmic gauntlet is accessed every night through the biological transition into sleep. Here, the unconscious mind encounters the immediate boundary gatekeeper in the form of sleep paralysis. During REM atonia, your brainstem paralyzes your muscles to keep you from acting out your dreams. If your awareness wakes up inside this state, your amygdala goes into overdrive, mistaking the physical paralysis for a life-threatening attack. Because your sensory gates are closed to the room, your brain projects a threat, a shadow person or a demon sitting on your chest, to explain the lack of movement. This entity is an archon born from your survival panic. Mastery begins with the wild protocol, keeping your consciousness unbroken as the body drops into sleep. You treat the paralysis not as a threat, but as a gateway. Instead of fighting, you apply the password of recognition. You identify the physiological state by name. This is REM atonia. This shadow is an illusion. The moment you name the guardian, the fear loop breaks and the entity shatters. Any force relying on blind fear loses its authority the moment it is accurately identified. This protocol of recognition and detachment is how you bypass the gatekeepers of the waking world. You replace emotional reaction with strategic states of being. You master strategic silence.
Information is a currency, and the more you reveal, the easier you are to predict. When provoked or insulted, your composure becomes the thing they cannot read. A silence so composed, it unnerves those trying to bait you. You adopt the posture of detachment. You sever the chain of seeking approval from the weak, spectators who have built nothing, yet feel entitled to judge everything. When you stop chasing validation, you begin to command respect. This was the strategy of Marcus Aurelius. He governed the largest empire on earth, yet his greatest conquest was the territory between his own ears. By controlling his inner state, he controlled every interaction he entered. You utilize the pressure of bold intention. Instead of waiting for inspiration, you create deadlines that force your own hand, leveraging your reputation as a tool for progress. Thomas Edison understood this necessity. He publicly announced he would light New York City with electric light years before he had even tinkered with a working bulb. He used the weight of public expectation to manufacture the discipline required to finish the work. The result of that pressure was a monumental feat of persistence. Because he had trapped himself into success, he built a team, doing the unglamorous work of testing filaments until the city was lit.
Sovereignty is found in the mental embodiment of resolve and total emotional control. You become the man who answers to no expectations but his own. You cannot summon this level of self-command in an hour of crisis if you have not forged it in the quiet hours when nothing was at stake. This chart represents the accumulation of quiet discipline. You become 1% harder to break and 1% harder to ignore each day. It is a slow, unglamorous trajectory that builds a fortress while everyone else is busy announcing their grand plans. This is the work of keeping private promises. Waking 15 minutes earlier, finishing the task you'd rather abandon, and holding the line when every cell in your body is begging you to break it. Indulgence is a form of slavery. The man who follows every impulse is governed from without. Discipline is the only real freedom, the power to make a decision once and have it hold regardless of how you feel in the moment. Every small act of self-command is a deposit into an account that compounds. You prove to yourself that your word means something, and a man whose word means something to himself is a man others cannot move. When hardship eventually strikes, the initiated mind does not break. It absorbs the blow, remains standing, and waits for the world to adjust. The sovereign mind does not collapse into self-pity or ask, "Why me?" It accepts the unvarnished truth of the road and converts every wound into a source of instruction. When you refuse to be emotionally baited and absolutely will not stay down, you become a problem with no solution. Your enemies and circumstances fear your refusal to quit more than they fear your success. This is the final state of mastery. You become an unshakable force, not because the world becomes gentle, but because your peace is never for sale. By adopting the protocols of silence, detachment, and daily command, you bypass the matrix of reactivity. You stop reacting to the world and begin to walk through it on your own terms.